Hi. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get ready to create our VirtualBox and do everything we need to do with that. So the first thing we're going to want to do is go download VirtualBox. So just type in VirtualBox into Google and then go over to Oracle VM and then just click on Windows Host or OS X Host and install it. I've already done this, so I'm going to skip to the next thing that we're going to need is we're going to end up needing a disk image. A disk image is basically like a virtual CD. So we're going to need to, or a DVD. So I'm going to go to Ubuntu desktop. So I'm going to do Ubuntu, looking for Google for Ubuntu desktop. And what I want to do is get this Ubuntu 17.01, and I'm going to click on download, and then it's going to download the ISO to my computer. So once I have VirtualBox installed and have downloaded the Ubuntu, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to come over to VirtualBox, and I'm going to click on New, and we're going to make ourselves a virtual computer. So that's going to be Ubuntu, and it sets it up to Linux 64-bit is what we want, and we're going to give it about 8 gigs of memory. And you can have a little bit less, depends on how much memory you have, but you at least should have about 4 gigs, 2 to 4 gigs for the operating system as far as its RAM. You can reconfigure this later, so you can add and remove memory. When the virtual machine isn't running, it doesn't take up this memory. It's just while it's running, this is how much memory that computer is going to have available to it. You're also going to need to create a virtual hard drive, so we just leave the default there, and I'm going to click Create. I misspelled it. There we go. And I'm going to click Create. And then I'm going to use a dynamically allocated hard drive, but I'm going to increase the hard drive up to 60 gigabytes. And basically, a dynamically allocated virtual hard disk is only as big as the amount of data that it's in there. It fakes the machine to think that it actually has 68 gigabytes of data. It doesn't. It only takes up as much space as the actual data on the hard drive. So my virtual hard drive for my Ubuntu only takes up just a few gigabytes. Now, that's what dynamic does. Fixed size is if you is a little bit faster, but takes up more space. So, and I don't generally notice too much of a performance difference, especially on a SSD. So now I'm going to click Create, and right now this is all of our specifications. And what I'm going to do is we're going to come over here to right click on that and go to Settings, and then we're going to update a few settings. We're going to make sure we got our memory, and then we got to get our display, and we got to get up our display memory. And I'm going to go back to System, my bad, and I'm going to click on Processor, and I have extra processors. I have a multi-core processor, and acceleration, just leave that alone, and then I'm going to click on OK. So now all that's been set up, and I'm going to go double click on this, and it's going to ask me for the startup disk. So I click on this, and then I already have it downloaded here, so I'm going to double click on that, and then I'm going to click on Start, and this is going to start the installation process. Now, it's going to ask a few questions, and so this takes a little bit of a time, and my my recording software doesn't have a pause, so we're just going to have to sit through this for a second, but it won't take too long. So this is the installation screen, and then I just click Install Ubuntu, and it's gonna say download updates while installing Ubuntu, and install third-party, and then I'm going to click oh, continue. And it's just going to take a little bit, and then just erase disk and install Ubuntu, and I click install and then click continue. It asks for my time zone. I'm in New York, so I click continue on this, and then let's see here. And then I'm going to click continue again. It asks for my name, for my creating my first user account. And log in. That's all the options you want. And then I'm going to click continue. And now it's going to copy some files, and we're going to wait here for a minute. This does it pretty fast. And it's going to install. So I'm just going to let this sit here. So you might want to skip, but I wanted to show you the whole install process, just so that if there's any problems, you can see how it's supposed to work. It doesn't take that long. And we're done. All right, so then once this is done, then I'm gonna go up to the machine menu, and I'm gonna say shut down. And I'm gonna close it out, power off the machine. All right. Once this is done, the next thing that I want you to do is we're going to take a snapshot. What is a snapshot? basically a snapshot allows us to save this machine, this computer, in the exactly the same state as with a fresh Ubuntu install. So I'm gonna do a snapshot here, and I'm gonna say fresh to install. I'll just type version 17.01 install, and I click OK. And we can restore this at any point in time, or even copy it to a new computer. So every time we wanted to actually have a new Ubuntu version, I can actually clone it, and clone will actually allow me to move it to another virtual machine if I want. So I could actually run this again, or use this for any other type of software that I want to install. So the virtualization is an important technology to really understand, because it really changes the way that you can manage your computer. And in fact, it totally revolutionized the IT industry, and that's why we have cloud services today. So like Amazon Web Services and this Heroku thing that we're going to use is all based on virtualization. There's an enormous amount of depth to that subject. I think it's more complicated than computer programming in some ways. But anyway, now that we have our fresh Ubuntu install, I'm gonna boot it up, and we're gonna check our installation. And we started up just fine. And let's take a look at this, and let's do a little bit of a tour of a Virtualbox. So here, the next thing that we need to do is install what's called the Guest Editions tool. So that's it. It's insert guest editions CD image, but we can't do that right now because it's going to fail when it tries to install. See, what we're going to try to do is we're going to get, right now they have these options, but they're not going to work until we install guest editions, which is being able to copy and paste between our host computer and drag and drop between our host computer. Our host computer is actually our physical PC, and the guest is the Ubuntu operating system, the virtual machine that we just installed. So in order to get guest editions to work, we have to install a little bit of software. And so let me show you how to do that with Ubuntu. So what we're going to end up needing is we're going to need the terminal. So I'm going to right click on the terminal. I'm actually going to add it to the favorites because we're going to use it all the time. So I click on this to give me a new terminal window. And then what I'm going to do is type in sudo apt-get install GCC and make. So I type GCC, that's one program, and make's another program. You can, with apt-get, you can specify a series of programs and it will go out and install them. So I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to hit Y, and then it's going to go out and it's going to install GCC. And then once that's been done, what we're going to do is we're going to insert the guest editions virtual CD, and it shows up there, and it's just going to ask me to run it, and it just takes a second here. That's okay that it said VBox failed. And then what we're going to do is we're going to reboot the computer. So I'm going to go up to here and I'm just going to say restart it. All right, now that's done. We can eject. And now we're all set. So at this point, we now have the guest editions installed. Everything's ready to go. And I'm going to end the video because the next video is going to be how to install whatever software you need to continue with the course. Oh, and I'll just show you, I'm going to take a snapshot, and you can actually do it from up here and say take snapshot, and I'm going to say guest and then now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to close this out, power off the machine, and we're going to turn off the video.